Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another stream. Let me know if you can hear me, if things sound okay. Had a couple technical difficulties, as some of you guessed, at the top of the show. But we have several people already in the chat, including a lot of the good and the faithful. We have Brandon, Tom, Buck, Tom. Good to see you guys. We've got Till, Matt. Good to see you again, Matt. Carlson. Let's see, WW Studios. Rerum, Elliot, DK, and others. So welcome everybody back to another stream. I had some time off, so glad to be back in the saddle. And there's a couple things I wanted to chat about before we fully dive into this week's stream. Goodness gracious. I had issues with my machine, like multiple restart issues. We get in a restart loop, you know, and the machine, my Mac was being terrible. So let's start off by going over here and talking about my new C-Log LUT. So if you're a Canon shooter and you shoot with C-Log, you might want to check this out. I'll drop a link here in the description, but you can go to academy.dslrvideoshooter.com, and the LUT is now available. Been loving this on the R7, so if you want to read about it, check it out. You can do so over there. So that's a big piece of news. And then you can check in the description if you're curious about this setup. I talk a lot about it down there, and there's some videos where I break down various desk setups for streams. And we also have down in that link, there is a link to our gear focus. So if you want to snag some used equipment that I'm selling, we've got a couple cameras. I will be selling a Canon R5C, probably a G86 at some point, and some other stuff. So there's a bunch of lights over there, a lot of lights for sales. If you're looking for that kind of stuff, that is a great place to check it out. So let's go ahead and dive into some questions. If you have any questions in regards to video or really any other topic, we're going to dive in here. So let's see. First of all, I suppose I should make sure you guys can hear okay. Good. What's up, Samantha? Good to see you. Oh, man. First late stream in a while. Thank you, Seth. Kind words. Appreciate it. Okay, we got a question. I think this is Gee Whiz A7 IV versus FX30. That is a really interesting comparison. I mean, they're very different cameras, and I guess we could dive in and start by talking about the FX30 because that is a super fascinating move by Sony. First of all, I can't get over the price. I think that's fantastic. What is it, $1,800 for the camera only? I want to say it's around $1,800 to $1,800, which is insane considering all that you're getting with that camera. So big fan of that. I'm going to order at least one. I might try to replace several cameras with maybe one or two of those because essentially it's going to be like an A7 IV. It's more like an A7 IV than it is an FX3 in a weird way, right? Because it's an oversampling of 6K down to UHD, which is very different and what I prefer. That's why I use the A7 IV for YouTube, is because I can take this image that you're looking at right now, I can crop in like 150%, and you can pretty much not tell because there's so much native resolution due to oversampling. All right. Yes, you are being sold to, Mitchell. trying to pay some bills here. Every tech YouTuber is kicking out their FX30 vids now. Yep. A lot of those videos out there. Nice. Good to see you. First time from Poland. Awesome. Good to have you here. Thank you, WW. Still dealing with some issues, hence being late today, but let me know if it looks too bright too. Also, I see my microphone dipping into the shot here. Boop. That's still there a little bit. Oh, well. Okay, elephant in the room, A7 IV versus FX30. Well, there's still a slight price difference there. What is it, $2,500 versus $18,000? So you're still paying more for the A7 IV and the sensor size difference. And then if you don't need any of the stuff that you get from an FX line, like LUTs in camera, A7 IV is still a pretty strong camera. What am I using to stream right now? I am using Ecamm. There's a link down in the description if you want to check that out. Okay, here's a good question. Yes, question time. Looks like I missed a couple. We'll get to those in a second. How would you light properly if someone has something like a busy bookshelf behind them? you can't distance them very far from it. I shoot at 1.4, but it still didn't look good. How would I light that? So if that was me, I would try to use light for separation. So maybe there's a way you can light more from the side. Let's say there's a bookshelf right here behind me, right? Do more side lighting and maybe use a grid on your light if you can to just hit the person and darken the bookshelf. That'll give you a little more separation there and more luminance on the person in the foreground, less in the background. Great question. A question for GH5S rig, V-mount or not, because battery is already pretty good. Still worth the upgrade though. If you're going to power multiple devices, it's definitely worth the upgrade because a V-mount battery has tons of current, so you can power several devices for all day. Or if you just really don't want to mess with batteries, that's one of my favorite things about using a V-mount battery with a camera, is even if your battery life is good, it's pretty awesome just to literally leave the camera on for hours and hours and hours instead of having to turn it off, turn it back on. So that's going to be up to you. Obviously, it's going to bulk things up a little bit. If you were going to start a short films YouTube channel, what sort of films would you be making? That's a good question. If I were going to start a short films YouTube channel, probably documentaries, short documentaries or mini docs. I love that kind of stuff. And we have a super chat from Chad. Thank you, sir. $4.99. What are you doing to organize all the little bits and pieces, screws, bolts, and cables on the go? Whew. So if you're talking about like for rigging and yeah, kind of like a little DIT station, it depends, right? So if you're a camera department or are you talking lighting, grip, or both, it depends. So I really like hardware organizers. You can get little bags that have little organizers in them for screws, you know, your 3/8 to 1/4-20s and all that kind of stuff, spigots for lights. That's a good way to go, where you can look down into a crate. So like Harbor Freight, you can go pretty much tool organizers is what I use. These days I have their like little suitcase and I have them all on a shelf so I can pull out, you know, different bolt organizers. But that was probably how I'd recommend going about it, is look into the hardware world for that kind of stuff, or the tool world. Any plans to compare the R7 to FX30? Probably Coalition, because I think that'd be an interesting comparison, even though they're very different cameras. But I have a feeling the FX30 is putting the hurts on a lot of companies and other cameras, especially the GH6. Ouch! I mean, $400 cheaper and a larger sensor with autofocus. Yikes, that's a tough one. Sharpness on the FX30 looks better than the FX3. Yes, 100% due to the oversampling. Makes a better A cam for that reason, in my opinion. I agree, Josh, especially if you're going to be jumping in and out. Now, if you're shooting for the final frame, you know, those other cameras are still fantastic. But if you're going to be messing around with reframing in post, definitely want that oversampling. What's up, Evan? Yes, we talk about the FX30. Super excited. I would love to see them do a 64 refresh. So, you know, something under $1,500 would be pretty great. To still have that. Oh wait, sorry. There's more to your question here. I currently have the 6600. Thinking about switching GH6. Oh, dude, I would say FX30 all day, unless you're going to be doing a lot of anamorphic. I still love the GH6, but I'm going to swing FX30 on that one. Thank you, Elliot. Good to see you. Love this view or angle. Would be interesting with a fisheye distortion, as if I was watching on a CRT display. Nice. Just finished up college in video production, and I still don't understand RAW and log and bit depth. I've seen tons of videos. Something just isn't clicking for me. Okay, so we're talking RAW, we're talking log, and bit depth. I mean, I can take a quick stab at it. RAW is just, you know, your sensor has a ton of raw information. It's just bits. It's data. So most cameras take that data and they shrink all the pieces down. They cut a bunch of stuff out to get a small file size that will fit on your SD card. Man, it's really nice sitting next to a computer. So it's got to squeeze out of this. So it's got to shrink everything down. RAW, these days we have compressed RAW, but for the most part, RAW is collecting all the information from your sensor, or a lot of it, that creates a larger file size and allows you to change those bits in post-production. There's less processing. It's just grabbing all the information off the sensor and putting it in a file. Whereas most cameras are going to be taking all that information. They're going to be taking things like the image and adding some denoising to it and processing the image. The problem is you have a more baked in file that you can't mess around with as much in post. So that's raw. Log, without getting too crazy, this image you're looking at right now is essentially Rec 709. It's not log. It's very high contrast. This keyboard is super dark. That light is very bright. If I were in log, which if I had my assistant here, I could have her turn off the LUT that you're watching right now. But log is going to be very flat. So if you imagine this is white, this is black, this is the image you're looking at right now. When I shoot log, we're looking at this. This keyboard would be gray, not black, and these highlights would be way lower. So you're not clipping anywhere, and you're able to push things around in post. Whereas when you record in a not log format, you're going to potentially clip, right? Where your highlights are the sun. If you're filming the sun in a mountain that's in the shadows, those two are gone. You can't move those around. They're just gone. They're just white or they're just black. That's why we like log. And it seems very intimidating, but when you use LUTs, like the one we talked about at the top of the show, you're able to very easily get a great image without a lot of fuss. So that's log. And then bit depth, that's a whole thing, but the more the merrier. 10-bit always if possible. And it's just how many colors there are. Like my ears are turning red because I'm late and I was under a desk with my head down. There's only a couple reds in 8-bit, right? You only have so much shades of red. Whereas 10-bit, there's an insane amount more reds to choose from. So your final image will have a nice gradation of burning red ear. Whereas 8-bit, it's going to be kind of blotchy when you start pushing things around. So I don't know if that helped, but that's kind of the 30,000 foot answer, I suppose, to that. It's a very good question. All right, where do we leave off? Great, so that was Dylan. Thank you, Dylan. All right, quick question. Using the S5 and the Ninja as my main camera, I want another camera for a side view. Wondering what you'd recommend, reasonably priced. So what kind of color are you using on your S5? If I were you and you're happy with the S5, maybe a GH5, or that'd be a budget option to go with. I would probably go with another Vlog camera. That way you have Vlog across multiple cameras, same LUT workflow, and you'll be good to go. Wish you had some time to fully join in. Oh, sounds good, man. Well, thanks for hanging out, dude, and for the kind words. Appreciate that. Didn't use a grid. Okay, cool. I'm just a simple mortal who chats through Zoom. Is it too much to go with the Rode Video Mic NTG? Is it too much to get? I mean, I would go for Rode Video Mic Go 2. That's what I would go with, hands down, because you can USB-C into your camera or into your computer. There's the word I'm looking for. Really, really excited about the new budget anamorphic lenses. Sure, great joy. Are you holding off to any particular set at this point? Michael, if I'm not going to say too much, actually I won't say anything aside from wait. Give it another 6 months or a year, and stuff's going to happen. More stuff's going to happen. It's going to keep happening, right? No matter when you buy, I'm going to take these AirPods out because I don't need them anymore. No matter when you buy, there's going to be other stuff that comes out. So, if you need lenses and you've got jobs lined up, go for it. But if I were buying for myself and, wasn't in a rush, I might wait a little longer. Is that a B7C lamp behind you or a natural bulb? So that is a B7C, and that's an Amran tube, as is that, which I could turn on, actually. Is it this one? Nope. Oh, it is. There we go. Yeah, Tube City. That's a bit harsh on the old head. I kind of like that. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it back on. I use Ecamm there, Angel Cuts, and that's in the description. What do you think about the Thanos SE gimbal support? I don't know what that is. I'm not a big gimbal guy. Which is best, 4K from full frame or 6K downsampled to 4K? 4K from full frame. So if you're talking about like FX3 versus FX30, I always want oversampled to 4K. So something that's 6K, 7K, 8K, that's oversampled to 4K, that's almost every single time. That's what I prefer personally. But there's downsides to that, and that's another conversation. Never looks so clean. Boop, 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 boop. Debating GH6 or FX30. Yeah, I'm still for sports. The GH6 might be a good option for sports. I don't know what the comparison rolling shutter is between the FX30 and the GH6. So that's a good question. What's up, Elliot? Trying to get into run and gun documentary filmmaking. Should I upgrade to FX30? Does sensor size matter? If I were you, I'd 100% go FX30, even if you had the budget for full frame, because lenses. For documentary work, you're going to be able to use smaller lenses, and that's really, really nice. It's harder to get wide, which, that's true, but there are some bonkers lenses now from Sony. Will the FX30 hurt the A7S III? Absolutely not. Two super duper different cameras. And, full frame 120 4K is kind of a big deal. Yes. Fujinon MKs with the FX30. Forget about it. This is turning into the FX30 versus show. Samantha, what's up, Samantha? FX30 versus Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. I'm kind of over the Blackmagic cameras right now. I'm not a big Blackmagic user when it comes to DaVinci, but I'm just, with everything else going on right now, not really feeling the Blackmagic plastic camera life. Mainly coming from a G7. I think at FX30, you're going to be really, really happy, Samantha. Xbox, easily. Actually, PC, but if I have to choose a console, it's going to be Xbox. Any device on landing a retainer client. So, Justin, we may have talked about this in the past, but I would love to have some consistent income. My current setup is a bunch of gear. Show that you can make consistent content. Maybe do a series of spec stuff for a company and then roll with that for your next company you want to go after. Looking to edit on a better PC because exporting yada, 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 yada. I don't know. I'm not a PC guy. Wondering if you're going to be 3D printing enclosures for the SM7B to sell. I don't have a printer. Yes, we have like 70 of these microphones about ready to ship. So stay tuned on Twitter, my Twitter, this channel. And if you go to camerafoundry.com, there you can subscribe for a email list, and you'll get updates to that there. So let me go camerafoundry.com. We'll switch over here. So if you go to camerafoundry.com, click at the top here, DIY SM7B mic mod. At the bottom right here, subscribe for news and updates. You enter your email there, and you're going to get notified when the microphones are available. I think we've got 70 plus mics done and inboxes ready to ship. And those will be going out, I believe, this week. And then we're going to be working on future versions of that. Actually, the one that's shipping is a new version. So there's a couple tweaks we've made. And all of that will be in an email with a new video and all kinds of stuff. So yes, long story short, I will be selling those. And we got a super chat, 100 somethings from, I hope I don't ruin your name, Udrot? I'm sorry, I'm terrible at reading words. Rode Wireless Go and XLR K3M sounds same to me on the Sony ZV-E10. How can I make my K3M sound better with the kit microphone? It's not a great microphone, the one that comes with the K3M. I would recommend maybe looking into something from Rode, or I've done a video on a ton of different shotgun microphones. Definitely watch that. And that's on the channel. It's not that old, but that'll give you a way better microphone than the one that comes with the K3M. So long story short, it's the K3M. It's just not that good, unfortunately. Do you think the Canon will make another M50? I have no idea. I have a feeling they're done with the EOS M mount, but who knows? Would you share your rule of thumb about uses for HDMI cable, long ones in particular? Any preferred cable brands? I've been using Amazon Basic cables, and they've been all right. Now, that's in a studio environment, so they're not getting beat up too badly. Length, I like to stay under 15 feet to be safe. And then if you're going longer than that, you need some kind of a repeater. Or if you have something like an Atem where it's HDMI in and then you're sending an output to go even further, that's fine. But you need some kind of powered device to not have any issues. Let's see what else we got here. Jiffer, starting a podcast, 3 cameras, Atem Mini Pro ISO. How do we shoot 3 to 4 people having discussions with keeping it visually clean? The background studio, we're trying to keep leading lines, but people move. Interesting. Well, I mean, I wouldn't try to frame... something like you're looking at right now is a good spot to be in. So have stuff in the background, but I've got room to move, pretty far before I start getting stuff, hitting various lines hitting me. So yeah, that's probably what I would do. Try to frame things or light things like we were talking about earlier in the stream. You can use lighting to make things less busy in the background. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's a podcast. People are going to move. Just make sure if they're like this, try to give them nose room. That's really important. Because if the frame ends here, if I'm like this, that's weird. So make sure you pan the camera over, think about where they're going to be looking. If possible, give them some nose room where there's room in front of their nose. Brandon, what's going on, Brandon? How much experience do you have shooting day for night? Need to get shots for Christmas manger scenes. Any tips? So I just this morning saw a video. Let me see if I can find him because he's got some fantastic stuff. Something Pots. Can you guys help me out with that? There's a channel, Chris Potts, something Potts. Potts day for night. Oh, here we go. Lewis Potts. You've probably heard the terms. Let's see. Let's turn that down. And let's skip some ads because I'm not on my normal browser. And this dude right here. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. But this guy right here, Lewis Potts, he has a video that's called I Tried a New Way of Filming at Night. And he talks about day for night at length. I'll drop this in the description. But really, really good stuff. And he talks a lot about all the different methods that have been used. So I'm going to grab a link to that. We will go over to the chat, and I'll drop that in the chat. But great question, Brandon. I would just say just watch his video because it's good stuff. All right, moving on. Richard, just wanted to say thank you again for your advices giving an AMA you streamed in the summer. You're doing good work for the community. Well, thanks, Richard. I appreciate those kind of words. That means a lot, man. And thank you for watching. Okay, so what else do we have? Would you have a video about how to edit R7 footage and color grade it? Perhaps a course. I'm not going to do a course on the camera. My next video, I will be talking about it. And I do have in the next 3 videos, I'm working on one, just how I color grade and work with LUTs at all. Just the workflow. And it's the same workflow for every camera with exception to a couple numbers that we'll talk about. I'm also hoping to do a 3-part video series on getting correct exposure because I get a lot of questions about that. And I think that's, if you can get that down, you can pretty much make any camera look incredible. Trying to look in a low light of a Panasonic S1 versus XH2S. Not finding much. I love shooting at 4,000 ISO on the S1. With the Fuji being newer tech, would it be comparable? I don't know. I haven't shot with the camera, Andrew. That would be a good question for... Who has both those cameras? Maybe Gerald Undone? I mean, I think he's used both, something like that. Preferred picture profile for 8-bit Sonys. All right, hands down, S-Log 3 with ITU 709 matrix for your color mode, and then you have to do some work in post. But I have a LUT coming up for that. Really excited about it for those 8-bit cameras. So it's going to bring back to life the A7S II in cameras that are, pre 10-bit. What are your thoughts on the autofocus cine lenses? I haven't done anything with them, so I really can't say. I've really not used third-party Sony lenses that much. But a buddy of mine was telling me, Corbin Tyson, great channel, check him out, was telling me about the Viltrox lenses, which I really want to check out because he says they're pretty rad. What about raw recording and not having lens correction? How hard is it to correct in post? Impossible, I would say, pretty much for video, because things like chromatic aberration, that's a lot harder to do. So some lenses don't really need it. Some really do. So definitely do tests. Could you tell me what the difference is between Vlog L versus full Vlog? I'm new to Panasonic cameras and currently have the GH5 Mark II and wondering if I could install full log on it. So Vlog L is light. It's not the full version of Vlog. I've had, not too many issues. It's like the GH4 Vlog L is terrible. The GH5 Vlog L is much better, but they're not as good as Vlog on like an S5 or GH6. I would say go for it. Vlog, so much better than the other profiles on the camera, easily. And a super chat from Evan, $2 Canadian. Hey, what Micro Four Third lenses have the least vignetting? Oh, interesting. I really don't know. I'm going to go with probably Panasonic's newer lenses. So the stuff they've released, they're probably more expensive, though. Are you talking from Panasonic, or are you talking manual, too? Because what you could do is get Super 35 or full frame lenses like Canon E-mount lenses and adapt them. That will give you way less vignetting since you're essentially cropping into the middle of the lens. Alan, watching some old videos, and it occurred to me that you really can't call yourself DSLR videos anymore. I'm sure you've been shooting on mirrorless for a few years now. Absolutely, and it just is what it is. I haven't changed it, too scared to change it now, so I'm just going to stick with it until maybe DSLRs come back around like film, Apparently kids are getting into tapes now instead of vinyl and CDs and downloads. So maybe it'll come back around in popularity. Probably not, though. Ordered a Rode Video Mic Me for the iPhone. Arrived today. Broke within half a day. Was working all morning. Decided to die in the afternoon. That's horribly sad. I'm so sorry, coaches. That's a super bummer. Definitely reach out to Rode. They have good customer service. If you could wave a magic wand and fix one annoying trend from YouTube cinematographers, what would it be? I don't really care. Probably, I don't know, maybe there's kind of, I don't know if there's a trend, but, kind of tired of the whippy, spinny transitions. That's definitely kind of a fad right now. There's a lot of drone stuff, a lot of gimbal stuff. So yeah, I'd love to see zooms come back. Just long manual zooms. That'd be fun. Now to sell all my... Oh, there you go, Samantha. Congratulations. Welcome to Super 35 land. Matching lenses. I've got a Sigma 18 to 35 on the GH5S. Excuse me, I'm cracking up here. Let me drink some water while I read this. Wanting to get a tighter lens, 50-ish. Do you think the Panasonic Leica 45 would match? Oh man, that's a tough one. I would lean toward a speed booster setup with a GH5S. So that's probably what I would look at. Streaming kids with soccer 90D Ninja over YOLO box DJI Mini. Holy smokes. Any advice, Tentacle? Get audio on each device. That's probably your cheapest, best option. And you can clap while all the devices are close and then sync it later. I need an ultra wide for my A7S III. Current wides 20 millimeter 1.8, but I'm looking at either the 14 1.8 or the Laowa. Ooh, the Laowa is awesome. If you're okay without not having autofocus, the Laowa 12 2.8 is fantastic. Another thing you can do is get the crop sensor Sony 10 to 18, and at 12 millimeters or 14 millimeters, one of those two, I think 12, you can actually cover full frame. Now it's f4, but it's optical stabilization, and now you have a 12 millimeter with autofocus lens that's super lightweight. So I would check that out. Any word about the Panasonic S1H Mark II coming? Sorry, have no idea if that's in the future. Would your LUT pack for Sony S-Log3 work well with the FX30? Yes, and once the camera is out, I'm going to make sure this works, but I'm going to make sure that the false color LUT that comes with the LUT pack works in camera, because then we have false color on the FX30, which would be sick. Jonathan, is there any way to render in the background in Final Cut when editing large clips? My 400 gigabytes of free space keeps getting used up. Is there any way to use render in the background in Final Cut while editing large clips? I'm not sure I understand your question. You can definitely customize the settings to render in the background automatically after a couple of seconds, or you can do it on your own. I hate when it's automatically doing stuff, so I just turn that off and manually do it with the keyboard shortcut. But I don't know if you can push that to a specific location, if that's your question. Didn't know you did these. Oh, what's up, AJ? Didn't know you did these. This is awesome. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Well, thanks, man. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm trying to do this every week. I've missed 2 weeks, took some time off, but we're back. Episode 26. Crazy, right? How did you get into filmmaking, especially with the YouTube side of things? I'm 15, trying to get into documentary work. Trying to get my work seen on YouTube is a challenge. Any advice? Oh, man. Well, it's a different world now compared to when I started in 2010. I mean, advice now, just shoot lots of stuff, put lots of stuff up. Maybe look for other communities, too. I don't know what Vimeo's like anymore, but I got a great head start on Vimeo back in the day, but I know it's it's like a wasteland over there now, probably. And more, I mean, I was talking to a friend about this last night. I'm more and more interested in offline stuff, and that's something to be explored, I think. Sharing work offline with a smaller group of people as opposed to this rat race that is the internet. I love you guys, but a big part of me just wants to just shut it all down and go out into the woods without a phone. But you know, we need the internets, and I do love seeing, and I think it's great to share. I'm not saying you shouldn't share stuff, but anyway, getting back to your question, getting into it, I just kind of accidentally started putting up videos, tests. People started asking questions. I did follow-up videos, and here we are, full-time. As for the filmmaking, documentary filmmaker side of things, I'd be curious if there's other places outside of YouTube that you could check out and try to find some smaller communities to get started. That's great. Definitely get a group of 15 people that you guys can share each other's work, learn from each other, ask each other questions. That's all good stuff. What do you think is better for videography name, visuals or films? It doesn't really matter. I guess visuals is probably what I would lean toward between the two. Video production help. Okay, here's a question. How the hell are you managing highlight comments on the stream? Okay, so this is Ecamm Live, link in the description, and that allows me to pop these up very easily. Those lenses aren't fully out yet. Let's see. Watched you for a number of years. I received so much great information that's helped me out in my career. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, Jiffer. That's very kind of you to say. Appreciate that. And hoping to get back into that more. Less gear, more. I've been turning down pretty much everything and just trying to get back into tutorials because I really do miss, just helping each other out as opposed to today's new lens or camera thing. I'll keep talking about gear because we all love that, but definitely want to get back into tutorials more. I would like to pick my GH4 back. Can't find the right cage anymore. Any tips on where I can find something that would fit? Definitely go used. Yeah, check eBay. Any tips for a newbie using the FX5 II Sony 18-105? Thanks in advance. Any tips for a newbie? I mean, what kind of tips are you looking for there for your camera setup? I would maybe try to avoid that lens I love the range, but it's not the greatest lens. Try to get something faster maybe too. Whew. All right. Jump it down. Pick up a solid ND. Yep. Talking about FS5. What I think of FX30, love it. Can't wait for it to, actually, is it tonight we're able to pre-order? But yeah, definitely looking forward to pre-ordering that and checking it out in person. Okay. Need a tripod for my Canon M50. Any recommendations? If you're on a budget, I love the Magnus VT30. It looks super terrible and plasticky, but it is quite good. So why does it keep popping up on this display? Nobody knows. So let's go to B&H. Boom. We're going to go over here. There it is. FX30 calling my name. Magnus VT. I think it's 300. Yeah, this fool right here. This guy. 80 bucks. Looks plasticky, but you pretty much won't find a smoother head for less. So I don't know if that's what you're looking for. Otherwise, if they still have it, the FM18 was a regular back in the day for me. And then if you have more to spend, the E-Image GH06. This is my favorite setup right here. This beast is fantastic. And then in the studio here, I love the dolly setups. You can get it with the dolly. Dadgum, adds that much? Oh, I see it. Okay, yeah, that's fine. This is a great setup. So the thing rolls around, super secure with the dolly. So that's a lot of fun. I love that combination. I guess it was an M50. That's probably a little overkill then for that setup. What's the advantage of full frame over APS-C? Is it worth it? They both have pros and cons. There's tons of videos on YouTube. Full frame's great for getting wider shots, but the lenses are bigger and there's not as many lens options. For people putting bright lights like tubes behind them, I'm 63 and have a problem. That may be a problem, but dark set with bright lights behind them is hard on the eyes. Sorry. Are these painful? Sorry about that, Matt. Yes, what's up, Baron? Fast 12 at Alas. I mean that new Sony 12, is it 11 millimeter, 12 millimeter? Good grief, computer, why are you making these sounds? Need to turn off notifications here. What an amateur. Okay. What else do we have here? But yes, we definitely need more. Wow, I'm so distracted tonight. Sorry about that, guys. Wish I could answer. Just started playing with the Atem. Holy smokes, missed super chat. Robert dropping $10. Hey, Caleb, you recently advised me to sell my A7 III in favor of the A7 IV, so it would match my 10-bit on the FX3. But would you now advise the FX30? Sorry if this is already asked. Don't worry about it, man. Thank you for the donation. I think either would be fine. Either is going to look about the same, especially if you're going with an S-Log3 workflow. So it's just preference, depending on which one you want. Full frame versus a crop sensor. You'll save a little bit of money with the FX30. So yeah, it's going to be completely up to you. Both are going to do a great job. So it's going to be just taste and what you want to do there. All right, let's carry on, shall we? We've got a couple more minutes to go here. Full Sail student. Nice. Welcome, Thor. Oh, wait, I missed your thing. I'm new to your stream, but followed you for a long time. Thank you. Thanks, man. I really appreciate the kind words. Video idea, light shaping. Yeah, lighting, hoping to do more lighting videos. My next one, we'll talk about lighting a little bit. Essentially, I'm putting together like the 2022 YouTube kit. So everything you need to film, and then I set it all up and show you how I would use the gear. And part of that is lighting, and we get into that, so that should be fun. Thoughts on the RF lens debacle, banning Viltrox, etc. Yeah, I haven't fully read up on it, but that's super dumb. There's no way around it. What a dumb thing to do. I mean, I can see where you're trying to save money, but yeah, I just feel like it makes your system stronger if there's more options, you know? Like Sony, there's some crazy stuff happening in Sonyville thanks to all of these other lenses. Are you a supporter of the mini V mount systems? Yes. In fact, 1 second. Upcoming video at some point is going to be about these guys, these little small rig batteries. Super stoked about these. Big fan, especially the small 50. Look how tiny this thing is. You know, it's really small. So yeah, big fan, big fan. The only reason to go larger is if you're working with like lights or, you know, a camera system that's a monstrous power hog. Do you advise using Magic Lantern? Yeah, if you want to mess around with it. I don't have a problem with that. Red TM. Thoughts on Canon cameras in general? Really love the look of the C70. Hope they will make a Mark II. If they do, it's going to take years, Simon, is my guess. Because Canon is very slow to update some things. So in general, I think they look great. The image is great, or the color's great. But in general, they're softer and noisier than Sony. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't know why I highlighted that. It's good to see you, Sam. Let's see. Any good battery option for the 6K Pro? You're going to have to get a monstrous setup with a battery on the back, unfortunately. You're not going to get a lot of love out of those MPF batteries, unfortunately. Is the Amaran 6DX with a diffuser good enough? Yeah, it depends on the setup, but that should be enough light to get you by. Thank you for the comment about the boom arm. Oh, no, Caleb, you're fine. I was referencing thing YouTubers do. Yeah, oh, yeah, I agree. Having tubes leaning up all over the place. I mean, I can't help myself. My glass is covering it. I have one back there. But I try to be subtle with it, you know. Sackler or Manfrotto? Sackler. Oh, okay. You're talking full frame Baron. Yeah, it's a APS-C for sure. Wondering if the likes of GFX could open the doors for an affordable medium format. Absolutely. And looking forward to seeing what they continue to do with that whole medium format thing. Heard some YouTubers say S-Log 3 isn't good for the A6400, generally 8-bit cameras. What do you say? I would agree because it's so flat and there's so little data there. So S-Log 2 with ITU 709 matrix for your color mode is what I would recommend. One thing I would get rid of on YouTube is dramatic lighting with only 1 or 2 lights. Yes. 3-point lighting. Yeah. I'm all right with, you know, the 3-point lighting. It's fine. What I don't like is when people fill with a light. You know, you don't need a lot for fill. I don't really have a fill right now. There's a little bit from this wall. But just, you know, some whiteboard. You can see just moving my hand. You don't need a lot. But when people have like, that's way too much light, in my opinion. And we've got another donation from Keon, super chat, $20. He says, FS5 here again. I'm looking to get the best autofocus for this camera. Better lens off the top of your head. I'm planning on doing some documentary style work. Your knowledge is stellar. Thanks again. Well, thank you, man. Autofocus on that camera is going to be not fantastic. If you can, I would consider, if you're able to, flip the FS5. It's a Mark II, I believe you said. So sell that, get an FX3 or FX6 if you can. The autofocus is going to be night and day on those cameras. If you're going to keep with the FS5, maybe some Tamron E-mount lenses. I think Tamron, help me out, guys. The Tamron 17 to 70 f2.8. It's a crop sensor lens and E-mount, and I think that would be a great option. It's f2.8, so it's faster. For more light. So I would say that's probably where I would start. But if possible, get a more modern camera from Sony, even if it means getting like an FX3. The autofocus is going to be insanely good. And if you don't want to mess with manual focus, that's probably what I do. All right, boys and girls. We've got 5 minutes remaining. Best DSLR for streaming. Oh, Tim. Depends on your budget. Let me know what that is. Yes, small rig batteries now. Sony A1. Have it set up for exposure. What's up, James, by the way? Exposure priority. Overexposed +2. ISO's auto. F1.8. Currently have it set up at F2.5 for shooting in ProRes HQ. He added us. Would you change anything for YouTube videos? I mean, I'm shooting on proxy, ProRes proxy, to try to save space. ProRes HQ is a bit heavy for YouTube. You could go with just regular ProRes. That'll save you some file size. I don't like automatic anything, so I would lock it all in. So whatever the native ISO is. And yeah, otherwise it's looking good. How will you supply chain slowdown affect future cameras? I have no idea. I'm not a macroeconomic economist. There's the word. And I'm jumping down because we've got another super sad. Thank you, sir. Awesome advice. Thank you. And up there he is, Matt Gray. What's going on, dude? Dropping in his overkill donation. Appreciate it, dude. Good to see ya. Sean, I'm finding that to really get a camera that is suitable for true professional, you need to spend at least $4,000. Anything cheaper has too many compromises. Would you agree? Absolutely not. A camera that is suitable for a true professional, I think there's tons of great options for less than that. Like that FX30, that's a baller camera, and that's $1,800. Sure, you're going to need some ND filters, but aside from that and some other gear, you're pretty much good to go. You know, of course, if you just want to get something that's way more ready to go out of the box, an FX6 or a C70 or something like that's going to be a little closer. But that, I think, a true professional could get a lot of use. In fact, a lot. Like the FX3 is on sets everywhere. I guess that is over 4K. But yes, you can definitely get stuff for less. And that's just going to keep dropping and dropping and dropping as we move forward. All right. I think that is a good place to wrap this thing up. So here's the deal. Next week, we've got a video, an entire YouTube kit. I believe I have a $2,500 budget, and that's what I used to build this kit. So that's coming out next Tuesday. We'll be back here for next Wednesday's stream. So if you're just tuning in, next week, same place, same time. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Amazing questions for those who donated. Thank you guys so much. And if you want to check out the LUTs, they're available, and all that stuff's down in the description. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video or stream.